Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2, and joining me today is Stevie B, as he's known in the streets, and the most delicious Geeky Gentleman, Ruben Bard, because his first name is a sandwich that I quite enjoy. Hi gentlemen.
Hello.
Every time I talk to you, Ruben, I do get kind of hungry, and I just remembered why, Ian. It's because his name is a sandwich.
Well, you're a vegetarian. You can't even have the good version of a Reuben. What the hell?
That's okay, though. I can have the vegetarian version of a Reuben.
You're missing out. Anyway, I'm glad of the general silliness. So last week we reviewed a movie that was heavy as fuck and damn near gave me an anxiety attack. So I was like, all right, we need some levity in the world. So Steve, what are we discussing this week?
Today we are coming up with our list of our favorite silly movies.
Yes. And I was talking to Steve before this because I felt that Steve, being known around the internet as a complete and total snob for some reason, even though he likes comic books, which automatically disqualifies him for a snob. Steve, you're too snobby for comic book fans, and you're too much of a layman for the snob crowd. How does that make you feel? Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so I was explaining to Steve, because of his snobby picks, that this is seriously stupid, silly movies. No intellectually fascinating things, nothing with a deeper meaning. This is the pure joy of seeing someone getting hit in the face with a fish. Okay? The random, goofy, silly crap that is out there in the internet lands and the cult films. So we'll be doing a top 10 list. As all Geeky Gentlemen top 10 lists are complete cheats and fabrications, we'll be doing our top 3 with an honorable mention from each of us. So, wrap your head around that one, motherfuckers. Keep in mind as well that these are not necessarily in any top 10 order, because for variety's sake, we like to switch these out based on what the others pick in case there is overlap. All of that being said, Steve, why don't you start us off? What is your honorable mention?
All right. My honorable mention is Fantastic Four.
Oh my god, no. We're already here.
Not the first Fantastic Four movie.
Oh, 94.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah. That one's my honorable mention because so I was going back and forth between that one and Batman 89 but my problem with picking Batman 89 is that I actually have to I have to pretend like people don't take that movie seriously, and they do. Whereas the 94 Fantastic Four movie, no one does. It's hilarious. It's just, it tries so hard, and it just can't get anything right, and I love it.
It's funny you mentioned that, because Manos and I just did a fan film review of a Silver Surfer fan film from 1994, and it's amazing because a 5-minute fan film from the 90s has more effort and dedication put into it than the 94 officially made Fantastic Four movie.
They try so hard. They really want it. They really do, and they just can't.
I've never seen this movie before, but I have to assume that it's at least the second worst Fantastic Four movie that's ever been made. Okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, at first I thought you were saying the first Tim Story Fantastic Four movie.
No, not that one.
I kind of like that one too. It's not on my list, but I kind of like it.
I mean, I think that one's fine. I don't think it's that fun to watch, honestly. Like there's stuff about it that is really comedic and fun, but then like in other places just feels sort of awkward to me, and like it also really aged. Like it's remarkable how much it aged. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the '94 Fantastic Four film is one of those weird like things that happened just to keep the rights and all this stuff in the movie studio. Yeah. And it's weird. I know this movie so much more by reputation. I've never sat down and watched the full thing. I watched some clips from it and I've seen like memes generated from it. But I've never sat down and watched the whole movie. But it's just really, really crazy because these projects happen, and it just, on every level, seems like you clearly should not be able to use that to hold anything up in court, but yet you're allowed to. Like, the same thing happened with Pinhead. The studio, New Line Cinema, was about to lose the rights to Hellraiser and Pinhead, and so they made a movie in, like, 2 weeks, and it's garbage, but they actually released that one on DVD. So yeah, the fact that it was Fox, right? Fox made a Fantastic Four movie just to keep the rights is hilarious.
And that would not be the last time they do that either.
Yeah. God.
At least a couple of times with the X-Men movies, right?
I don't know if it ever got that bad with X-Men, but like that's why we got the second Ghost Rider. That's why we got what was it? No, I think it was Ghost Rider was the only one where they really tried their hand to try to keep it in family.
Well, they tried with Daredevil, but then they just gave up on it, which is a shame because that demo reel that we got for what that Daredevil movie would have been was really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I want to live in a world where we could have had the Fox Daredevil and the Marvel Cinematic Universe Netflix Daredevil. Like, have them both. I want them both.
It'd be cool. Okay. Well, Steve, do you have anything else you want to say about that, or is it just dumb fun for you?
It's just kind of dumb fun for me. Like, I'll be honest, there are weird moments in that movie that I still kind of cringe at and don't have the most fun. But like there's something about like showing that movie to people, and that's kind of what I like when it comes to like silly or guilty pleasure things. Like my entire experience of something being like that is, look, you don't understand. I have to show you. You won't understand any of this until you see the scene where this happens and shit like that. So
okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and go second, since I'm God determining the order here. I'm gonna go with Good Burger. As my honorable mention. This is one that's like, I watched it when I was a kid, and it's so fucking stupid. It is, like, honestly, but my criteria for my list is I have to feel like I lost IQ points watching these movies, and Good Burger, I immediately regress to being in elementary school and loving Keenan and Kel and all the Good Burger sketches on all that on Nickelodeon's stuff. Snick at Night, that was the name of it. They'd have all that and they'd play the Good Burger sketch, and it's just fucking ridiculous. I want to try as best I can to get through this episode of Geeky Gentlemen without just quoting these movies, but that's going to be really hard to do because some of what, like, I can't really explain why these movies are funny without just, explaining some of the jokes. But the reason I don't like doing that is I don't want to ruin the jokes for people if they've never seen them. Because it's the fact that you don't know what's going to be said next. It's the enjoyability of just ridiculousness. Just the idea that someone paid money to put that on film and for it to be distributed to an audience always amazes me. And Good Burger is one of those things. It is like this big budget movie that should never have been made on its own merits, but was made just because there was an existing fan base and Nickelodeon knew they could make money off of it. It is so dated, cheesy 90s-ness, and it's just, every time I see anything from it, I just enjoy the hell out of myself, and I feel like I'm a kid again. I have a really good story about Good Burger, though, that I can talk about. So, I don't know, have you guys ever heard of the game store chain, Game Crazy? I don't know if it was like maybe a Midwest thing or if it's nationwide or whatever.
We used to have one where I live. I don't think we have it anymore, but we used to have one.
Yeah, we used to have one here too. Like, the way I understood it is Game Crazies were connected to Hollywood Video movie rental stores. They were like a partnership kind of thing. And it was, your basic go in, trade games thing. And when I was a teenager, you don't have money, but you hang out and look at video games. So that's what I was doing, is just hanging out in Game Crazy, looking at all the games that I couldn't afford to buy. And I'm having a conversation with the dude there, and it's a slow day, so I'm the only one in the store. He and I are talking, and I'm like, oh, how much is that? And he goes, that'll be $10. And I look at him like, that sounds familiar. What's that from? He goes, Good Burger. The whole thing. Welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. Can I take your order? 1 Good Burger and fries. That'll be $10. I'm like, no, the hell it's not. That's not the line. That's not how it goes. The $10 thing isn't there. And so he and I get in this back and forth about whether or not Ed from Good Burger says a Good Burger costs $10. And so what he does, and this is why Game Crazies are not a thing anymore, what he does is walks into the Hollywood Video, picks up the DVD of Good Burger, walks back into the Game Crazy, queues it up on one of the PS2s or Xboxes or whatever, and we sat there watching through all of Good Burger, waiting for the line to be said. And the best part about this story...
Fucking hell!
The best part about this story, I have no idea to this day whether or not he actually says a Good Burger will be $10, because I was just enjoying watching the movie so much at that point.
I don't think he does. I don't remember that line. There's a part where they're talking about, well, I won't quote it, but they're talking about $10, but it's not about the price of a Good Burger. So
yeah, I don't know. That's like a moment in my life that I'm always going to remember, is that I was there in a store when someone got paid for an hour and a half to watch Good Burger.
So, fun fact, if for people that don't know, but J. August Richards from Angel and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is actually in that movie.
Is he the bad guy?
No, he's not the bad guy.
He worked. Does he work for Kurt? Is he
yes,
one
he
of?
does.
Oh, okay, I do remember him. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I haven't seen that movie in years, but when I saw it relatively after I've seen Angel, so I'm like, oh my god, it's the weirdest fucking thing.
That's cool.
Okay,
This
yeah.
fucking badass vampire slayer, not slayer, but like vampire killer, just hanging out at Good Burger. This is the thing he does.
Yeah.
Also, Linda Cardellini is in it.
Oh yeah.
Sinbad's in it, and he, as you know, had a wildly successful career to this day.
Carmen Electra's in it too, and that's hysterical.
Yeah. It's crazy to go back and look at it, and it's ridiculous. Have you seen a picture of, I can never remember the actor's name. In my head, he shall always be Ed. But have you seen a picture of him since he's grown up?
No.
Dude is hot. I'm just gonna abandon all pretense of being a big, strong, heterosexual man and just say, Ed is hot now. Ed got hot. It's ridiculous. And Kenan Thompson went on and did SNL, and he's pretty enjoyable to watch on that from time to time. But man, I love the fuck out of Good Burger. I remember, I hate Jimmy Fallon. I cannot stand Jimmy Fallon. The one Jimmy Fallon bit I watched was when he reunited Kenan and Kel to do Good Burger.
I need to watch that. I didn't know that he did that.
Yeah, it's just a sketch. They just did a Good Burger sketch, and it was pretty funny to see. So yeah, I love Good Burger. Good Burger is a fantastic, silly movie. Okay, Ruben, what is your honorable mention going to be?
Okay, so I was kind of tossing back and forth between a couple of honorable mentions, so I'm going to go with Batman and Robin. Now,
Oh boy.
yeah, okay, so pretty much every comic book fan universally agrees that Batman and Robin is the worst comic book movie of all time. I don't agree with that. I think
No,
there's
that's
a few...
Batman versus Superman.
Yeah. I told that, me and Connor, we did like a 2.5-hour review of Batman vs. Superman, and I said I would 10 times rather watch Batman and Robin than Batman vs. Superman. And I think that movies like Catwoman and Elektra are both worse than Batman and Robin. I can enjoy Batman and Robin if I watch it pretending like it's a comedy movie. That's the trick with this movie, because a lot of people, I think, the problem that they encounter with this movie is that they're going into it, they want a serious movie. They want something along the lines of, you know, like you were saying, Steve, that people take the 1989 Batman movie seriously, and I like that movie. It's got some problems, got a lot of problems, but I like it. But, you know, people are looking for, like, Frank Miller in the Batman movie, and that is not what that movie was trying to do. You know, Joel Schumacher, he's capable of doing more serious movies, and at one time after Batman and Robin, he wanted to do a Batman Year One movie, and then the studio basically said no. At least that's the story I heard. But he basically was making the movie the studio wanted him to make, and so he was doing something a lot closer to the 50s comics, like the really goofy Dick Sprang comics. And it's still, you know, got some problems. There's some narrative problems in that movie. There are some things that if it was me, if I was making a comedy movie that is supposed to be made for kids, there are some things I would have done differently about it. But that movie is hilarious. I can watch that movie and I can just be grinning from ear to ear watching the whole thing. And there are a few lines in it that I genuinely think are funny, that aren't just like ironically funny. So I'll probably get like a corner torn off of my geek card for saying that, but I enjoy watching that movie.
Oh no, I think it's a fun movie to watch. Like it's the kind of movie you want to watch with a bunch of your nerdy friends, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, there's like some stuff in there that is like just really, really weird. Like, am I the only one who's ever noticed the Clockwork Orange gang?
Oh, in the motorcycle chase?
Yeah, I always thought that was so weird to see.
Yeah, that is weird.
And then there's just like Joel Schumacher does a lot of really cool things, like the gang with all the black light paint on their faces and stuff. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's what a gang member does. He spends like 3 hours in the bathroom with a black light, applying really intricate makeup before he goes out to rough people up at night. And so it's just like, it's just silly. You just gotta embrace it in the same way that you do Batman 66. And so when you look at it in that light, it's great. I will say, I think it is trying at some points to be more dramatic. So I think it's I don't think it's quite the comedy that you like. All right, if you're gonna enjoy Batman and Robin, you have to enjoy it as a comedy. I don't think it was meant to be enjoyed that way. At least not wholly. It was meant to give the parents some laughs, but it still wanted on some level to be taken seriously. Hence, like the whole Alfred dying plot.
And Mr. Freak.
That movie was, Warner Brothers wanted a toy commercial, Joel Schumacher wanted a legitimate comic book film, and then Schumacher very quickly realized that if I don't do at least some toy commercial, someone else will, so the seriousness is interjected in the toy commercial.
Yeah, and
it's like if a toy commercial had a character arc.
Yeah, pretty much. I do legit like the Alfred plotline, though. I think that is probably the heart of the movie, so to say. And so if that is a plotline that interested you, I'll just say this, because I'm never know what I think about this series, and my thoughts change daily, but you should read Batman White Knight by Sean Gordon Murphy, because that straight up acknowledges the fact that it steals that plot thread from Batman and Robin, but does it seriously. So
I am so conflicted on that series.
I know. God. It's just like Secret Empire. It's all gonna rest on the ending.
Really, honestly, it has the potential to be the anti-Dark Knight Returns, and I really want it to be. Yeah,
we'll see how it goes. Yeah, Batman and Robin is just a ball when you're with the right audience for it. I don't know, has Rift Tracks ever done Batman and Robin? Because they should. Oh, okay, cool. I'm
almost positive they have. If they haven't, it's a huge missed opportunity.
I know that they talked about doing Batman v Superman, and that could have been amazing.
I think they confirmed that they are doing that.
Oh god, that's when I'll go see in theaters if they are doing it, and I haven't missed it already.
Depends on which cut, though, because god, that would be painful.
Oh, you'll manage with them sitting there yelling Martha every 2 minutes. Okay. Ruben, you got anything else you want to say about Batman and Robin?
No. It's funny. I like it. I mean, it's not I'm not even going to say it's a good movie. Like you said, at times it tries to be serious. You were mentioning the Alfred subplot. Also, the Mr. Freeze thing is pretty much taken directly from Batman the Animated Series, because before Batman the Animated Series, Mr. Freeze didn't have a tragic origin story. So they're taking that origin for Mr. Freeze, and that's actually pretty touching itself. Or as touching as it can be in that movie. Mm-hmm. And so you're right. It's not a complete comedy, and it's definitely not the movie Joel Schumacher wanted to make. But it's the best I can. It's the best way for me to enjoy that movie. Otherwise, I have to say, oh, it's really not good.
Mm-hmm. No, that's fair. One of the things I remember seeing at one point was the behind the scenes featurette on Bane, and they do this. It's so funny to watch behind the scenes things on comic book movies, particularly the bad ones, because often people will sit there and talk about, oh, this character has this really rich history, and so they go into Bane's history in the comics and all this stuff. He's not only just a big brute, he's also really, really intelligent. But we didn't feel like doing that for our movie. We wanted to make him just a big brute. And it's what were you thinking? Why would you even acknowledge that you knew that about the character?
Oh, I need to find that extra feature. That sounds great.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, Stevie B, what's your number 3?
I think that was a pretty good segue, too, considering the way we talked about Batman Ron. But my number 3 is Justice League.
Oh. Man, this is
so
Justice
harsh. League. Justice League is a terrible movie, but oh my god, it's so funny. It's just so funny. To the end of my days, I am going to go to people and say you have to see this movie, if for no other reason than Superman lying on the fucking ground with a smile on his face saying, I changed my mind, I wish I was dead. This is an actual line in this movie that Superman says, and I can't. I fucking love it. It's so bad. Fucking Batman takes 10 minutes to fight one parademon while everyone else is simultaneously taking out droves of them. It's the most useless Batman has ever been.
Ouch.
Were you?
Oh my god! It's so funny. Batman grows a beard for one day.
Mm-hmm.
One day. He just doesn't have it. Then he has it, and then immediately shaves it. And I don't understand. It's so dumb. It's just the funniest fucking movie. And again, it's another one where I just keep wanting to show it to people because look, they didn't just make a bad movie. They made a movie that you can't take seriously on any level.
Damn. This is harsh.
Were you keeping up with
Superman wishes he was dead. What more does anyone want?
Were you keeping up with the Henry Cavill grew a mustache and they wouldn't let him? Okay.
Yeah, no, it's so obvious and I love it. It's so funny. It's fuck. Oh god. When Superman carries Batman up and he's like, do you bleed? And then throws Batman to the ground and Batman's like, yeah, something's definitely bleeding. It's just so bad.
That's a movie that was really interesting to see the fan reaction, because for the longest time I thought it was just a cult of DCEU fans, that any movie that came out they would say it was the greatest movie ever. You had people saying BVS was a masterpiece. And then when Justice League came out, I'm like, okay, this is clearly a mess where they're just trying to be completely reactionary. That being said, I'll watch Justice League 100 times before I watch Batman v Superman again. But it's clearly a mess, and it wants to be more in line tonally with what Marvel's doing, and it clearly doesn't work for them in this universe. But regardless, so I was really, really interested to see what the fan reaction from the Snyder can do no wrong crowd was going to be, and the people petitioning for a Snyder cut of Justice League that cannot possibly exist is really, really entertaining. So I will give this crowd this. They're not blind cultists. They recognize what they apparently like. Why they like it and their justifications for liking it make no damn sense to me. but they clearly recognize what it is that they enjoy.
Did you guys hear about? Apparently, they were trying to organize a group of people to march on Warner Brothers headquarters and be like, "We want the Snyder Cut." And get this, okay? They did it. 12 people marched on the Warner Brothers headquarters wanting the Snyder Cut. Only 12 people. Like, that is what the highlight of that story for me. And I think I like Justice League more than either of you did. I don't think it's a great movie. I think it is an improvement on some of the others, like Batman vs. Superman and Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's got loads of problems, but I enjoyed watching it a lot more than Steve did, and possibly more than you did, Ian. But I do think it's hilarious, like what you were talking about, the people who wanted a Snyder Cut, and then it amounted to 12 people, like, going and, like, protesting outside of their headquarters. Like, I think that's hilarious.
Well, like, what I'm finding hilarious about this list is all of Steve's picks thus far, and I don't know if it's going to continue this, and Steve, don't tell me if it's going to continue in this way. All of Steve's picks are not designed to be silly movies yet, and that's making it real. Yours too, Ruben. Your first one was not designed to be a silly movie. My picks are all designed to be silly. And so I'm really curious if that's going to be if I'm going to be the outlier in this trend. Possibly I should have been more specific. You're the only one that
understood the rules.
Yeah, maybe I should have been more specific, but we'll see what happens. I don't want you to change your picks or anything. I'm really curious to see how this proceeds.
I do want to just say, in regards to the quality of this movie versus the other ones, given that I hate all the DC movies a great deal, including Wonder Woman, I do think Justice League is the best of them. I think just on the simple level of can you define the word story? Justice League is the best of them.
I think that's a little unfair to Wonder Woman.
And Wonder Woman has got some really, really bad structure problems.
Okay.
But aside from that, like I think Justice League is also the easiest to watch. Where like I can just put this on as background noise and I won't get like it's not coded in offensive dribble either because it's just so dumb. Like there are like clear fascistic problems with all the other DC movies and clear sexist problems with all the other DC movies. Justice League is just too incompetent to even do that right, and it's great.
Damn. Just goddamn savage.
You can't even be bad correctly. It's great.
Ian, just real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, what did you think of Justice League?
Like a 5.5?
Okay, that's maybe where I would put it. No higher than a 6 for me, because like I enjoyed it so much just because my expectations were non-existent. That might have had something to do with it, but yeah, I can't argue with anything that you're saying, Steve, because you're not wrong. But I did enjoy it a lot more than you did, I think.
Yeah, no, that's totally fair. There's things about it to definitely like in places. I think there were even like good lines here and there, where like and the biggest compliment I'll give Justice League out of anything in this universe is that Batman vs. Superman did not feel like I saw the Trinity on screen. Justice League felt like, okay, I actually saw a Justice League movie. It's not that it was a betrayal of anything that those characters are. It's just bad. So that's something. Like I can say that a Justice League movie was made in a way I can't say Batman vs. Superman was a Batman vs. Superman movie.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and move on. Me next. So, I'm looking over my list here, and I'm going to go with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
I knew that was going to be on there.
Yeah, I love that movie. That was one of those movies, like, okay, so when you're a little kid, you'll, like, you all have this thing where you'll watch a movie, rewind it, watch it again, watch it again, watch it again. I did that with Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when I was entirely too old to do that. I would watch my brother's VHS copy of Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back when I was in middle school. I would come home from school, I would put it in, I would watch it, laugh my ass off, rewind the movie, and watch it again. I was entirely too old to be doing this, but it was that fucking funny. I wanted to memorize everything. To this day, I can do Jay's rap from the beginning because it is like ingrained in my soul. This movie is what introduced me to Kevin Smith, and as a teenager, I watched all the other, or as like a preteen actually, I watched all the other movies in the Clerks franchise, and I was like, well, like, Mallrats was pretty good, and Clerks was okay, but all these other ones kind of suck. And, like, as I've gotten older, no, like, Clerks is really good, Chasing Amy is a great film, Dogma's got some really interesting ideas, Mallrats and Jay and Silent Bob are pretty fucking stupid, but I don't care. I still love Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I still love Mallrats, but Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is what introduced me to the franchise. And it's just, it's got so many things that I like, so many fourth wall breaks, it's got so many just meta commentary bits, and I've stolen jokes from it to put in my own stuff, and I don't care. It's just funny, it's just enjoyable, it is just Kevin Smith having a good time with these characters. And it was meant to be, like, it seems every time he does the last movie of the franchise, it's not the last movie of the franchise, because he's still talking about doing a Clerks 3 at some point. But, you know, it was gonna be the send-off of the franchise. It was supposed to be the last film in the series. And it feels like it with all these characters returning, which is really funny because of how many times he just used the same actors for this cinematic universe of his. So, like, Ben Affleck plays 3 characters in it, which is ridiculous. And, like, it's totally straight. It doesn't mess with it at all. And it's got all these references to all the other movies in it that are just really fun to see. And then it's just got, like, I have no idea why these scenes are here. There's a moment where Scooby-Doo and the gang show up. And it adds nothing, but it's just stupid funny. I
have not seen any of the Kevin Smith movies, but you're selling it to me right now because I really want to go and watch a few of these right now that I'm hearing you talk about them.
Where do you work?
A Habitat for Humanity store.
Oh, okay. So, like, have you ever worked, like, proper retail, like fast food, something like that?
No, I worked in a restaurant for a month when I was 17, but it was not fast food. It was whatever the step up from fast food is, like kind of fine dining, but not like super fine dining.
Okay, then I would say probably, like, I think Clerks is the most relatable movie Kevin Smith ever made, because it's just when you've been in, like, that retail job and you just goof off when you're not, like, being paid attention to, and, like, this one I can actually talk about stuff from, but, like, they play hockey on the roof in the middle of the day. They close the store to go up on the roof and play hockey. And I relate so much to desiring to do that. And, like, you know, I worked at Goodwill for years, and, like, we'd get stuff in, and there were times where I was working the night shift, and so we'd get in, like, those, you remember those little scooters you had when you were a kid? Like, the Skeeter, I think they called it. We got some of those in one day, and it was just like, you know what, fuck it, no one's back here in my area. I'm just going to close this door so that the store managers can't see me, and I'm going to ride the Skeeter around in the aisles for like 20 minutes, and I did it. And it just, so Clerks is a very relatable film, and then everything else is various levels of relatable. Mallrats is very, like, sell-outy, but it's still got its really charming, funny moments. Chasing Amy is the best film he made, in my opinion, and in Kevin Smith's opinion as well. But something about Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is just always going to stick with me as just stupid fun. I don't know, Steve, you don't like Kevin Smith's movies. Do you have any soft spot in your heart for Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back?
Oh, no, I absolutely do. I mean, ever since I realized you liked that movie, I did go back to it, and I do like it. It's a lot of fun. So no, you're right. You're spot on about everything about that movie. It's quotable as fuck. It's charming as hell. Clerks probably is the most relatable Kevin Smith movie. I don't like Clerks either, but I would put Jay and Silent Bob pretty high up on a list of good comedies.
No, cool. I've won Steve Baxi over. It was funny. Someone messaged me on Twitter. It was like, "Oh, your friend Steve blocked me because I disagreed with him on what was it, on Last Jedi. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's the reason. It's like, Steve just needs to learn that other people have opinions in the real world. I'm like, dude, I disagree with Steve on things all the time. If you actually talk to him respectfully and shit, you can sway him.
No,
and here we are.
This is true. My mind has changed considerably with some of my friends. So, like, it's not a huge deal.
Yeah, it cracks me up, the perceptions people create of stuff. So here it is, ladies and gentlemen, proof that Steve Baxi can be swayed.
And does not hate everything.
Yeah, just like, you gotta not be a dick when you talk to him. How's that?
It's so difficult, though.
I know.
So difficult.
I know. Okay, Ruben, what's your number 3?
Alrighty, my number 3 is the movie Young Frankenstein.
Oh my god.
Oh god, yes.
Yep. I was almost tempted to not put it on the list because I don't think this is a stupid movie. I think it's genuinely funny and is trying to be funny. There are some scenes in it that, if I'm gonna put on my critic hat and I'm gonna look at it critically, I'm gonna say there's some scenes in it that don't make any sense in the whole narrative. Like, at one point, before the monster even escapes from the lab, you've got this guy who's like hammering up the house, saying like, better make the house safe so that monster can't get us. And then they're like, wait, is the daughter inside? And so, like, scenes like that don't make any sense at all. But it's a fun movie. I've watched this movie probably over 100 times. This is one of the movies I watched in my childhood. It's actually my favorite Mel Brooks movie, I think. Some of the others that I've watched, I've only seen like much more recently and haven't seen nearly as many times. Like, I've only seen Men in Tights one time. I've only seen Spaceballs once. Don't know if I've seen The Producers a couple times, but other than that, like, this is really the Mel Brooks movie that I will go to just again and again and again, and I think it is just one of the funniest movies ever.
Yeah, see, I don't know if you can really call it a comedy, because, in my opinion, Young Frankenstein is the best Frankenstein movie.
It's my favorite. I don't have like a working knowledge of the Frankenstein cinematography of the last 100 years, so I can't compare it to other Frankenstein movies. I've seen one or two, but it's my favorite one.
Well, Haley and I went on a delayed honeymoon to Universal Studios, and they have the Universal Monster Cafe, which is really cool. They got like recreations of props and stuff from the old 30s movies, and so that got me in the mood to rewatch a bunch of the old monster movies. And like, the Boris Karloff Frankenstein films are great and important and all, but damn, Young Frankenstein's just perfect. It takes all the subtext and everything about Frankenstein being the son of, or the monster being the son of Frankenstein. Just so much of it's just perfect, and I do feel like it's legitimately a Frankenstein movie just as much as it is a comedy. So like, when people say like, oh, it's a great comedy, you're like, I think Mel Brooks just made a Frankenstein movie but threw some jokes in there.
I think I'm gonna probably be wrong when I say this. I think that it wasn't Alfred Hitchcock. Some really famous movie maker called up what's his name, Mel Brooks, and said, this is like a legitimately good movie that you've made, but like everyone basically snubbed it at the awards, saying like, oh, it's just a comedy movie. And I don't remember who it was who told him like, this is a legitimately good movie and a legitimately well-made movie. And then like, he kind of got his feelings hurt about it, saying like, people just looked at it as just a comedy and like didn't give it its due dessert because of the quality of the movie.
Okay, yeah, I'd agree with that. But no, it is damn hilarious. You gotta respect the amount of detail work the man put into it, too. Like, I remember hearing Mel Brooks talk about it, like, he had to argue with the studio executives to let him shoot it in black and white, because...
Really?
Yeah, because they didn't want it. Like, no one wanted to go see black and white movies anymore, was their opinion. And he's like, no, it being in black and white will be the selling point, because it'll remind him of the 30 movies. And so he had to argue with them to let him shoot it in black and white and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. And then there are jokes that took like 40 years for anybody to get, which is just impressive. And I won't spoil those, but man, it's great. I love Mel Brooks.
Yeah, that's all I had to say about it.
Steve, any thoughts on Young Frankenstein?
No, I mean you hit the nail on the head when you say it's a good Frankenstein movie that just happens to be funny.
Okay, all right, cool. Well, Steve, then what's your number 2?
My number 2 is, and this might be more along the lines of what you had in mind, a movie that I watch and lose brain cells for, but that's okay. Rush Hour.
Oh man. Oh, this came up in the Guilty Pleasures episode too, didn't it?
Did it?
Yeah, I think so.
Damn, I don't even remember. Yeah, no, I really like Rush Hour. It's a lot of fun. It's bad. It's offensive. It's all around just not good, and it makes me feel like a bad person. But like, damn, it's funny. Jackie Chan's American movie career is not exactly illustrious. But I feel like Rush Hour is one of those times where like he's legitimately having a lot of fun, and it really shows. And it's like it just got like a nice quirky dynamic to it. This whole sort of like accidental action star thing that he does in his American films, I don't think has ever been quite as not necessarily natural, but as charming as it is here and as funny as it is here. You can see him do all sorts of cool hysterical stuff in his Japanese films all the time, but I would still like argue a lot of those are just good movies. Whereas Rush Hour is not. It's just silly, and it knows it's silly, and it contrives as many ways as possible to be silly, and it's still just a lot of fun. Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker just like playing off of each other can be hysterical sometimes, and there is a good level of just the police are really incompetent. Just considering how these people are acting, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, Chris Tucker, I don't feel gets enough credit for how much that movie works. Like, I think, it was weird because that was a big launcher for Jackie Chan's American career in a way that, like, Chris Tucker never really hit big with mainstream audiences again after that. Even after Rush Hour 2, he definitely hit big with black audiences from all the Friday movies and stuff, and I did consider putting one of the Friday movies on this list, but I decided not to. But like he hit big with a lot of black American audiences, but man, I think he adds a lot to how much that movie works. It has this great like what's the word I want to hear? It has this great just color to it. The fact that you got Chris Tucker teaming up with Jackie Chan, like it's just really, really enjoyable to see two people of color in a big budget mainstream American movie just going around being goofballs in the middle of an action movie. It's really, really fun.
No matter how bad the movie is, there are those moments like at the very end when they're just like singing together and they're singing really badly. I just love it. Like there was like a really good layer of like these two guys really bonded over making this movie, and it's kind of sweet.
Yeah. And it's weird because like they try the same thing with Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights, and it's alright, it's just not quite the same. I think Chris Tucker just adds so much to the dynamic in a way that Owen Wilson doesn't.
No, I mean, dude's got a lot of personality.
I'm glad you mentioned Shanghai Noon, because I've never seen Rush Hour. I saw Rush Hour 2 a long time ago. I was in middle school, had a sleepover with a few friends, and we watched Rush Hour 2 and what was the second? No, it might have been the first Ace Ventura movie. We watched both of those in one night, and so I don't remember hardly anything about Rush Hour 2. I do remember parts of Ace Ventura, but so I know very little about Rush Hour, but I have watched Shanghai Noon quite a bit, and whenever you were talking about like his American film career, I actually had to look that up to see which one came first, and that was just the year after Rush Hour, I think, or 2 years. But it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I was just thinking about that, and that's one of those movies. I guess I'm just taking us off on a Shanghai Noon hole. I'll get off of it real quick, but I didn't think anyone else knew about that movie. Like that's it was made by the guys who made Smallville, actually.
That I did not know. That's crazy. No, I mean it's interesting because it's very it's very Hollywood just trying to recreate the dynamic with a more main staple actor. But I don't know, I like Owen Wilson and I enjoy things about Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights, but something about Rush Hour just works better to me. And I haven't seen either of those movies in years, so maybe my opinion's changed. But I don't know, something about Rush Hour just sticks with me more. Okay, cool. All right, my number 2. And I'm like really debating which to pick because I kind of would want this to be my number 1, and I would easily have substituted it in if one of your guys' number 1 was this other thing that I picked. But I'm gonna take the gamble and make this my number 2. Amazon Women on the Moon.
Oh fuck, man.
Oh, so you guys have actually heard of this?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I am shocked.
Well, the only reason I have is you mentioned it on Twitter the other day. You said something about Carrie Fisher was in it, so I Googled the movie, but I had not heard of it before you tweeted about it.
Yeah, I was rewatching it for this because I'd had memories of it. So the best way I could describe Amazon Women from the Moon is it is an R-rated, hour-and-a-half-long episode of Robot Chicken.
Huh.
In live action. That is the down to the fact that they are literally flipping channels at points in the movie to cut between different bits. It is I swear sometimes every time I watch Amazon Women on the Moon, I want to go and check the credits and see if anybody that worked on that is like an executive producer or something of Robot Chicken, because it is the exact same thing. And it's naughty as fuck in just the best ways. Like, again, I don't want to describe too many of the jokes, but like the second or third bit is like this Playmate profile where you just see like a naked woman posing for like a Playboy shoot or whatever, and she's like narrating the events of what brought her to Playboy or whatever they call it, like Playmates or some shit. They make up a generic thing that sounds exactly the same. So it's this naked woman like modeling and stuff. And then it just cuts to her out in the street, just in her daily life, and she's still stark-ass naked. It's just stupid. It's just fucking dumb. And it's awesome because it's fucking dumb. And then I didn't even realize Carrie Fisher's at the very end of it. They do an after-credits stinger, like an entire sketch. It's not just like a quick moment. It is an entire extra sketch, and it's Carrie Fisher. And it's amazing. It's got like a lot of really big recognizable names pop up in it. B.B. King shows up at one point. It's got a couple of other actors who go, oh, I remember this person from this thing, and that's really interesting. I watched it again. I was just having all these, holy crap, that's the Doctor from Voyager, and all these other things. It's like it's in the late 80s that it came out, and it's just fucking raunchy at points, but in the best way, and it's just stupid jokes, stupid fucking jokes, and I don't care because I love it to death. Now I gotta know, Steve, you've seen this movie apparently.
Yeah.
I did not think anyone else on the planet had seen this movie. What do you think of it?
No, you're right. It's kind of hysterical. I didn't think to compare it to Robot Chicken, but yeah, no, it's totally Robot Chicken. I'll be honest, I haven't seen it in a while, but when I did, I laughed pretty hard at it. So. Oh
yeah, it's got so many good bits in it. I think my favorite. I don't know, my favorite changes every time I watch it, but I really, really like the bullshit or not segment, which is like Ripley's Believe It or Not, but they just call it bullshit or not, and that's really funny. It's seriously sketch comedy, which so often doesn't work in anthology films, and this is one of the few examples where it's like a anthology film that's feature length, and it's just sketches, and it just works. It's just funny. There's not a point at which you're like, okay, I'm tired of this, get to the next scene or whatever. All of them just have me cracking up at different points. There's uproarious silly humor, there's Looney Tunes style humor, there's like really weird situational humor. Like at some points it feels like Monty Python, at some points it's very American. It's a really, really fun gem of a movie that people have completely forgotten about, and it's too bad because it's a blast to watch this movie, is all I can really say. Okay, Ruben, what's your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2 is a movie. I've only seen it one time, and when I watched it, I wasn't sure if I liked it or if I just thought it was really stupid and didn't like it. But the movie is called The Ice Pirates, and it's from the 80s. It is a science fiction comedy movie. It's got it's got so many people in it. Ron Perlman is in it for like 3 minutes. He's in it. Robert Urich is in it, and Robert Urich was like kind of well known for being in westerns. He's the main character in it, and basically these pirates, they steal water because it's a commodity in outer space, and they get caught up in this big adventure. The princess kind of shanghais them after they were imprisoned on this planet where they were going to be castrated, and then she steals them to go on this adventure, and it's so weird. And like a lot of the movie is just like cheesy and deliberately cheesy, and like just kind of you're just along for this really goofy ride. Like it's trying to recreate B movies from the 1950s in the 1980s, and it doesn't have a very huge budget. But then there are times where it has legitimately funny lines and legitimately funny moments. It's a weird movie, and I really want to go back and rewatch it sometime because right now I'm not doing it any favors by trying to describe just how bizarre it is. But it's one of those movies, I think if I watched it again, knowing what I was getting into, I would probably rank it a lot higher than I do now as far as just like pure enjoyment. But the first time I watched it, the reason I watched it, this is kind of a weird thing, but I had watched the movie Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, and then Amazon was like recommending all of these movies that I had never heard of before, saying like, well, because you bought this, here's like 30 other recommendations we'll give you. And so I was going through and just watching each of these movies that they recommended, and in a lot of them I was like, oh wait, that's kind of terrible, that's nothing like Buckaroo Banzai. And so with a lot of them I went in completely cold, knowing almost nothing about them, and that's what I did with The Ice Pirates. But then I still enjoyed quite a bit of it, so I think if I went in knowing more about it, I would probably like it even more a second time.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I've literally never heard of this. Steve, you at all?
I had no idea what the fuck this is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I've never heard of it, but it sounds really fun to like capture that whole B movie aesthetic, and it's funny because Amazon Women on the Moon does like a similar parody thing at one point for one of their bits. So, yeah, that kind of sounds like something I'd get a kick out of too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, it's from '84. Like, I didn't realize it was that new. I kind of thought it was like earlier than that, but like I said, like Ron Perlman is in it for maybe 5 minutes. Like I remember him having one speaking line in the movie, but I enjoyed the crap out of it. It's a really funny movie that like I still don't know what to make of it now.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't really know what to say about it since it's like so, All right. Okay. Wait, hold on. That was your number 2. Oh, yeah. Shit, Steve, I skipped you, didn't I?
No.
What?
Wait,
I'm confused.
No, because it was me, you, then Ruben, then me again, so it's my number 1.
Okay, Steve, what's your number 1? My bad.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, we're right. My number 1 is Scooby-Doo and Batman Brave and the Bold.
Oh, God.
Okay, Batman Brave and the Bold is the only Batman cartoon without a single bad episode. It's not my favorite Batman cartoon. That's still Beware the Batman. But there isn't a single bad episode. And when I was talking about it on Twitter a few years back, the executive producer of that show replied to one of my tweets and said the whole goal of the show was to make the comfort food of superhero television. And holy shit, is that perfect. It is comfort food of superhero television. So when I found out that they were making this movie, I got ridiculously excited because I want more Brave and the Bold all the time. And it's great. It's adorable. It's just so much fun, and it's so charming, and it's just so clever in random places. For people that don't know, Scooby-Doo's been making animated movies for fucking decades at this point. And they come in like weird phases where there was a good long period when they were all TV movies. There was that short period of time where they were all based on What's New Scooby-Doo. There was this weird awkward point in time where they tried to like do a bunch of live action ones that were like still straight to DVD. And now there's weird, I want to say golden age of Scooby-Doo straight to DVD movies, where they're all really fucking meta and really clever in the dumbest but most interesting ways. Like they've actually gotten to this point where they've captured almost the Brave and the Bold animated series style of it's really campy, and they know it's really campy, so let's just play on those tropes. Like, for example, in one of the movies, it's basically Velma's related to Dr. Frankenstein, and they don't want to go explore that mystery, and then someone blows up the mystery machine, and Fred is on a fucking John Wick vendetta over it. It's just hysterical. And it's that style of Scooby-Doo characters with Brave and the Bold. So it makes perfect sense that those characters would work with this Batman, and it's filled with Batman Brave and the Bold cameos. Jeffrey Combs is back as the Question. It's so much fun, and it's delightful, and it's comfort food, and it's one of those things where like you have a really rough day and you come home and you put this on, and Batman is going bam whiff pow with Scooby-Doo at the Joker, and it's great, and I love it, and it makes me happy.
See, I've not seen that one. I love Brave and the Bold. It has some of my favorite Batman moments, like, you know, Batman does not eat nachos.
Yeah. The Batman does not eat nachos.
Oh man. There's like a YouTube does the weirdest shit sometimes. Like Star Wars YouTube's really weird, but like Batman YouTube can get pretty weird too, because there's like a whole thing of Batman does not eat memes where it's like they change the thing that Batman is eating, and they'll even find like clips from other episodes of Brave and the Bold where they'll put in the word instead. So it's like, Batman does not eat Batmans, and it just cuts to the dude eating like a tiny version of Batman, and it's just weird. So Brave and the Bold, though, I love Brave and the Bold, so I'm gonna have to check that out, even though I'm not a big Scooby-Doo fan.
Yeah, I hated Scooby-Doo even when I was a kid. I thought it was awful. It's just on all the time, and it's annoying. But this version of Scooby-Doo I can get behind. It's actually really fun and sometimes really meta. Also, Diedrich Bader Batman is forever going to be like one of the most... I think Diedrich Bader to Batman now is what Adam West was to Batman for decades. Like, Diedrich Bader is a perfect, like, completely captures every side of that character in the most harmless, humble, unique, and still wondrous way.
I just want him to, like, read, like, one of the most tragic moments from, like, a Tom King issue now, just to see how weird that'd feel.
Well, I mean, like, fucking Chill of the Night, right? Like, he pulls that off so well, and in the same breath, he can fucking do the Batman does not eat nachos.
Right?
Like, it's... That guy doesn't get enough credit for his Batman voice, because we almost always only cast Batman voices now as you're either Adam West or you're Kevin Conroy trying to do like a really deep, gruff voice. Diedrich Bader is like in this perfect spectrum of it's a really silly voice, but it's also a really demanding and like powerful, booming voice. It's perfect.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Did you, Steve, did you ever... So you didn't watch a lot of Scooby-Doo cartoons outside of that?
Not growing up, no. I used to watch the original Scooby-Doo cartoon, and I hated it. And then I remember watching Pup Named Scooby-Doo and hated it. And then I remember watching Mystery Inc. when that was new and really liked it.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. Are these movies, like, is that one, the Brave and the Bold movie, is that connected to the Mystery Inc. cartoon from a few years ago?
No, so after Mystery Inc. wrapped up, they made another Scooby-Doo show called Be Cool Scooby-Doo, which is actually really good. And it's based on that style from what I remember of Be Cool Scooby-Doo.
Okay. Because I remember I watched an episode or two of Mystery Inc. and thought it was pretty funny and like surprisingly had a good story going on also, like an overall series arc that was like, you know, an ongoing mystery. Like I before hearing about that, I never would have thought that a Scooby-Doo cartoon that I'd be hearing people say it has a good story and there's like an ongoing mythos to it. Like I never thought I'd hear people say that about Scooby-Doo of all things, but I was curious if that was the one they were going with. But I've never watched Brave and the Bold either. The closest I've come to watching an episode is I've watched several times the He Drives Me Bats musical number, which I think is amazing. That's the only bit of the show I've watched. And I think I saw a little bit of an episode with the Crime Syndicate, maybe. Just a little bit of that one. But I really want to get into that cartoon. In some ways, I'm like really behind on watching DC cartoons. Like, I really want to watch all of the Batman. I was talking with Ian about that, I think, last week. And then I want to watch Brave and the Bold also. And I've never sat down and watched an episode, and I only heard good things about it.
Oh, yeah, Brave and the Bold's brilliant. Okay. Well, I guess from...
Oh, sorry. Steve, was that James Tucker who had responded to you, or was it someone else?
It was James Tucker, yeah.
Okay.
That's cool. All right. Let's go ahead and move on then to my number one. So I'm so glad I got to this, because I was really worried I wouldn't get to this. Kung Pao Enter the Fist.
I was so close to putting this on there.
Yes.
It's the greatest movie ever made, I think. Like, Kung Pao Enter the Fist is... It's funny, we've done a Geeky Gentleman on it already, so I don't know how much I'm going to have to say beyond it without just devolving into quoting the movie, but it is the most quotable movie ever made. It is just fucking hysterical. I have had several occasions at different jobs where I've just started talking Kung Pao Enter the Fist, and someone else has seen it, and then we just start going back and forth with different lines with the fucking movie, and just crack up. I was at work, like last year, I was at work talking with some chicks I worked with, and we just started going on Kung Pao Enter the Fist. And I was laughing so hard, I had to, like, leave the room and do a walk around the building, because otherwise I was going to start to cry and just fall over on the ground. And it's just stupid. It is the most nonsensical, stupid thing ever. And when you look at, like, the time that it came out, in, like, the early 2000s or late 90s, and then he used all this blue screen and motion capture technology before it had even really been perfected by the likes of Lucas. He used it to put himself in this movie and just say stupid things, just the dumbest fucking things, and it's like the most beautiful thing that it exists. It's like a testament to just how frivolously people can spend money for just... It's truly art in that regard. There's nothing else to say about it. I always feel bad for people that haven't seen it, because, like, I want everybody in the world to watch this movie, because I think it could legitimately make the world a better place, but I fear that if you watch it when you're too old, you'll never be able to properly enjoy it, and that disappoints me.
It's great.
Oh.
Like the first time before I had ever known anything about it, I think the very first scene that I saw from that movie was when the baby has partially rolled down the hill, and then the old lady picks up the baby, and that I'm seeing this part, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, she's going to raise the baby, and it's going to be, you know, like a Martha Kent type thing or something like that, and then she just sets it down and keeps it rolling down the hill, and I'm like, oh, that's what this movie is doing. Okay, and I like. And at no other point was I able to guess what would come next with that movie. Like, it's so, like, there's not a single movie on this planet, serious or silly, that will keep you guessing more than this one. Like, just when you think that you have figured something out in this movie, it will come out of left field with something else entirely. It's so, like, it doesn't rely on one particular type of joke. Like, there's one part where it rewinds the footage of the movie, so that and the character like knows that that's happening. Like at one point we just pull in Mufasa from The Lion King. Like, you know, it doesn't do like, you know, if you talk like earlier you were talking about like Robot Chicken style humor. Like, we all know what you're talking about when you say Robot Chicken style humor or Family Guy type humor. Like, that's a specific type of humor. You can't say that with Kung Pao because there's so many different kinds of humor utilized in such a short span of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I adore this movie. It is probably the most pure thing ever made by human hands. Steve, your thoughts on Kung Pao?
You're right. It's so much fun. It's so fucking quotable. It's just, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a perfect movie.
It really is. It is exactly what it wanted to be. You know,
there's literally nothing wrong with that movie. Just on the most objective of levels.
Is it the greatest film ever made by that criteria? Then,
I mean, probably. It's like
I'm
Brave and the Bold. There isn't a single bad episode, so
Right.
It's technically the best.
I may have said this when we were talking about it in the Geeky Gentleman we did on it a while back, but I really wish that Steve Oderick, that's his name, right?
Yeah, Odenkirk or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I really wish that he could have done this same thing with, like, science fiction movies. Like, if he could have done, like, what's that movie with Leslie Nielsen, Forbidden Planet. Like, you know, if he could have taken, like, Forbidden Planet or some really famous science fiction movie and done something similar, I think that could have been really magical. But on the other hand, I think we talked about this also, there's a chance that it could have, like, he wouldn't have captured lightning in a bottle, and it would have just been like, oh, this is really dumb. Like, why did he do this again?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's always been the fear. Like, he's often talked about doing a sequel, and he's been up and down on it, saying, "Oh, I just can't find enough footage," or yada yada yada. I'm like, part of me wants to see more of this because it is so damn charmingly dumb. But then the other part of me worries that, yeah, it's just never going to be quite the same. It's always going to just be trying to recapture the stupidity of it all. Like, I really feel like the studio maybe greenlit this as a test to see if the technology that he was going to use would be feasible for other films. And so they just needed to, like, you know, have a way to justify it with, like, some kind of modest return. And that's why he got to make it and have, like, clearly there's no oversight on this film. Clearly no studio executive got to come in and say, you gotta cut this. You cannot have a tongue with eyeballs on it, with its own mouth and own tongue. You cannot do that with our money. But, like, just, there's clearly no oversight. It is clearly just the most pure, stupid shit anyone's ever done with film, and I love it for that. It is exactly the movie I wanted to make when I was 12.
It is great.
All right. I love it. From this day on, you shall refer to me by the name Betty. All right. Ruben, what is your number one then?
Okay, so this is a movie that when me and you talked about King Arthur, like, 2 years ago, after I was voted out on Who Reviews the Reviewers, you quoted this movie, and I had not seen it at that time. The movie is Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Yes.
And I just recently, like, it was like 6 months ago or a little less, I just watched it for the first time, and I will say that this is a movie I think I would have loved, like, more than anything else in the world if I had never heard anyone talk about it. But I grew up hearing so many people, they would quote the same scenes over and over, and I would think, like, that doesn't sound funny. And then also, like, they would quote it again and again, and I thought, like, it's less funny every time they quote it. But there are so many scenes in this movie that it's like, what if we just did this really insane thing that doesn't make any sense at all? And when they did that, I would just be laughing myself, like, into tears. Like, there's one part in the movie where they're saying, like, you know, chapter 1, such and such happens, and then chapter 2, and then at one point, like, the hand that's turning these pages on the storybook, like, it gets, like, pulled off screen, and a gorilla hand comes up out of nowhere to change. And I'm just like, what? And I'm like rewinding it to rewatch that. And then at one point they skip ahead. They're like, okay, chapter 15 or something. And then like there's a scene where Lancelot kills like everybody in this castle to go and rescue who he thinks is a woman in danger. And it turns out it's just a wimpy guy. And that cracked me up because like I'm a pretty big fan of like King Arthur stories, and Lancelot rescued Guinevere in the Once and Future King, and then killed like 15 knights in rescuing her. And so like that's kind of like I feel like they had to have been familiar with that in doing that scene. Like there's so much about that movie that is so hilarious, and it's one of those. I really wish that when people who have seen it want other people to see it, they would just say, okay, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. I just want you to watch it. Because, like, I had so many friends that I knew when I was growing up. They would quote just one or two scenes. And so watching the movie for the first time, I was like, oh, this scene isn't as funny as I think it could have been if I had never heard about that before. Mm-hmm. Like the shrubbery scene was one that a friend of mine would quote it, and I never understood what he was quoting. And then when I got to that in the movie, I thought, oh, that's not as funny. But it's really funny, I think.
Oh, yeah, dude, I love Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And again, they wrote that movie in 4 hours. They wrote the script for this movie in 4 hours, improv'd half of it on the set, and it's just stupid. It's just, like, it's the right kind of British stupidity, where, like, they show off their chops that they clearly know what they're talking about, like, with the Lancelot thing. But then, randomly, there's just like, oh, that dude has a beard made out of shaving cream. It's just fucking dumb.
Yeah, I forgot about the shaving cream beard. And then there's the musical number where at one point, like, it cuts outside of the castle, and there's somebody, like, hanging off of the wall, and they, like, sing a line when they're talking about Camelot. And, like, oh man, it's hard to describe what's funny about this movie. It's really one that you just have to, if someone says, oh, I haven't seen it, you just have to say, okay, put a stop to the rest of your plans for today. We're going to watch it right now.
Yeah, that's really, I feel, the attitude you have to go. And like, I remember watching this in school and just, you just cry laughing. These are the perfect movies, I feel, to watch with an audience, because humor has this really cool cumulative effect where you can, like, watch something on your own and be like, haha, yeah, that was pretty funny. And then if you watch it with a crowd and enough people just start laughing their asses off, you just join in. It's, like, contagious. And I love when movies like this get made that are just made to watch with an audience like that. And then the best kind of audience to watch these kind of movies in particular with is, like, preteen. Like, you'll never laugh as hard at Monty Python as you will if you're 13 years old and you watch it in a classroom full of 13-year-olds. Mm-hmm. It's ridiculous. Because just all sense of snobbery is out the fucking window at that age. And it's just perfect. I love Monty Python, The Holy Grail. It is just damn quotable. Like, it's probably the best Monty Python movie, though I do feel Life of Brian gets overlooked sometimes, though that one's a lot more clever.
Meaning of Life, though. Meaning of Life is damn good.
Yeah, I had that and Holy Grail as possibilities on my list, and I watched Meaning of Life recently, and just that dude that fucking pukes all over the lady. Jesus Christ. Yeah. All the Monty Python movies are great, but there is something universally lovable about Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Tis but a flesh wound.
Tis but a flesh. Yeah. Again, it's just so quotable. It's like Ruben's right. You shouldn't quote this movie to people who haven't seen this movie, but just it's irresistible, man.
Really is.
There's so many jokes that, like, just the way the movie ends is fucking genius. Like, they tell you the end of the movie in the first 5 minutes of the movie. It's amazing. I don't know how they got away with it. It's just brilliant. Monty Python is absolutely ludicrous. There's so many stupid jokes in just the best.
What are you gonna do? Bleed on me?
Yeah, right.
think one of my favorites is when they meet the wizard guy and he says, "My name is Tim," and like I read up on that. Apparently, it was supposed to be some really long name, and then the guy just either couldn't remember it or didn't think he'd be able to get through the name, so he just threw out Tim right there at the last minute. Like that stuff like that cracks me up.
Now go away, or I will taunt you a second time.
Yep. Okay, before this just evolves into quoting Monty Python, since we got our Monty Python quotes in, and we're at the end of the list, let's go ahead and real quick, you get one quote from each of the movies on your list, and then if you had any others that you had for alternative fill-ins you can talk about, just say, I really like this one, we won't go into a ton of detail. So I'm going to do, from Kung Pao, I'll do, I am a great and powerful magician. Your clothes are red! Because I love that bit. That is just too much fun. From Amazon Women on the Moon, I guess I'll just have to quote, was Jack the Ripper truly a 75-foot tall dinosaur? You decide on bullshit or not. Still not as dumb as Star Trek. And then from Good Burger, watch your ass. Okay. They just start spinning in a fucking circle. I love him. Oh, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. If only those as super smart as me are left alive in this monkey-ridden world. No. Damn yous all to hell. You monkey fucks. Okay. Anyway, Steve, your quotes, sir.
All right. Mine will be shorter because I don't think Fantastic Four is really a quotable movie as much as it's just fun to look at. And I only watched Brave and the Bold once, so I don't actually remember a lot of the best lines from that one. So from Rush Hour, I fucking love the scene where Carter's like, don't you ever touch a black man's radio, boy. You can do that shit in China, but you get your ass killed over here. And then in Justice League, obviously, it's I changed my mind. I wish I was dead.
Not something is bleeding.
That one is good, but like I don't know, that one requires a setup, a beat, and a payoff. This is just Superman wishing he was dead, and it's great. That other joke is clever.
Yeah, true. Okay, and Ruben?
All right, so for Batman and Robin, it's not a line, but Alfred protecting the secrets of Batman with a 3-letter password of PEG. That's just, that never gets old. In the Ice Pirates, it's kind of it's the funniest scene in a movie, and I don't remember. It's difficult to explain it and make it funny, but a creature comes out of the turkey or whatever they're about to eat, and the princess is asking him, "How long has that been here?" And the first mate and the captain of the ship they both have different stories. One of them says they just found out about it. One of them says it's been there for a few days. And then they look at each other, and then they switch stories, trying to cover for each other. That's really funny. Then Monty Python, it's the guy saying that his my name is Tim. I think that's really funny. And what was my other choice? I'm sorry. I
don't remember off the top of my head.
Oh well.
Okay.
That's fine. Yeah,
All
those are funny.
Okay, other things I had on my list. One of them wasn't a movie. I put it at the very bottom. It's called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And you're never going to be able to Google this. Haley and I, for our 1-year anniversary back when we were dating, we went to a weekend trip to Chicago, and we saw just this little theater production called Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? And that was absolutely ridiculously funny because it was just a parody of the 90s. Like, while we were waiting for the show to start, they played like a Spice Girls song, and it's so damn funny. It's just all taking place in the 90s. Like, this during a scene change, they have this janitor character talking on a cell phone that's like huge as fuck. It's like a brick. He's talking on a cell phone. He's like, nah, man, OJ's rich. If he was gonna kill somebody, he'd just pay him to do it. I'm telling you, the juice is innocent, bro. It's just too much fun. I had Wayne's World 2, which is great. Mafia, which is a Jay Moore movie that's like a parody of all the 90s gangster movies that were coming out. History of the World Part 1, another Mel Brooks film, and I also had Monty Python and the Meaning of Life on the list, which is also a great movie. Steve, you got any alternatives for us?
Bruce Almighty is a lot of fun. Ace Ventura, Pet Detective. I was on a bit of a Jim Carrey kick earlier. What was that other movie? Shit, why am I blanking on the name? Stardust was gonna be on the list, but I figured that's just like it's a good movie, so it doesn't really count. It's an adorable movie, but it is a good movie, and that's the same argument I had with Princess Bride. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with the whole Socrates man. Dude, Where's My Car?
Yes.
Stoner comedies are fun. I don't care what anyone says. Stoner comedies are the best.
Oh, totally.
And there was one other that I think was a Jim Carrey movie. Was it? No, okay, I think that's about it.
Okay. Ruben, did you have any alternatives?
Well, I did remember my other one was Young Frankenstein, and my favorite line from that was when he does the charades, and then when they finally give him the sedative, and then give him a sedative. That's my favorite line from that. But anyway, alternatives. I almost went with Wayne's World 1, which I've only seen it once. Me and Connor, we have this thing where we watch different things with Twin Peaks alumni, and we watched that and we did a podcast on it because Wayne's crazy ex-girlfriend from that, she was in Twin Peaks. She was Donna, and me and Connor hated Donna. We hated James from Twin Peaks, and she's hilarious in that movie. Like, she is probably my favorite part in that movie. So like that almost made it on my list, except since I've only seen it the one time and just very recently, like I didn't want to put it on there without really being as much of an expert on it. But that one, I was close.
Okay. All right. No others from you then?
No.
Okay, that's cool. All right, everyone. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope if you've never heard of some of these, you'll take the time to go check them out because I love these movies. These movies are just, if you're having a bad day, this is the kind of movie to put on. If you just want to hang out and watch a movie with some friends, this is a good one to do. I highly, highly recommend all the movies on my list, and some of the others these guys talked about sound really fun too. So, thanks for watching. Until next time. Oh, wait, shit. Ruben, we need a review topic for next week.
Okay. I am going to pick the 1990... It's a comedy movie. I don't know if it's a silly movie, but I'm talking about the 1990 movie Quick Change, starring Bill Murray, Gina Davis, and Randy Quaid. Have either of you seen this?
No.
Gina Davis is in that movie?
Yep.
Huh. I have not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. I only saw it for the first time as an adult, and it's one of those, I really wish I had seen it earlier, because I like it. I can't wait to talk about it.
All right, sounds good. We'll get into it next week then. Everyone, thanks very much for watching. Until next time, I'm Philosopher.
I'm the Exile.
And I am the Comics Kid 2099.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.